New Bear. I'm working on a new pattern today, and as I've gone to start the clunies, I thought it might be helpful if you can see what I do with my starting tails. There's a couple of options for hiding tails. How you do it will depend on what your pattern is, whether there's a close element that you can use for your cluny tails, and of course personal preference. I already have a detailed tutorial on cluny, so I'm not going to explain the weaving process here, but I will leave a link for the full cluny video in the description box. If your first cluny comes off another element like a chain, you're not going to have tails to worry about. This is my Maggie motif. If this was our first element, our tails could be hidden in this chain. If your pattern starts with a cluny and you're working with continuous thread, again, there won't be any starting tails. But if your pattern starts with a cluny and you want to use two colours, where do the tails go? You might also ask why you'd use two colours when only one will be seen. I'm using purple and mauve for this pattern. I want my cluny to be purple, but I want the following element to have a mix of the purple and mauve. So the mauve will be used to set up my loom, and the purple will weave. Once the cluny is done, the two colours will be in place, ready for the following chain. So we have the dark purple, the mauve, and a loading loop. So we're going to start by tying our two colours together with a weaver's knot. Leave a long tail and tie a slip knot in one of your threads. Doesn't matter which one. Take the other tail and pass it through that loop, and again leave that tail fairly long. The thread that we have used to tie the slip knot, we are going to hold the tail and the thread that goes back to our shuttle and pull them apart so that that snaps into place. I'm using a weaver's knot because it's very fine, and if I weave my cluny nicely, the knot will be very hard to see. I'm just going to trim those tails so they're both the same length, and then we're going to get our loading loop and attach these tails to the loading loop. So again, I'll leave a link for anyone who's not sure how to make or use a loading loop. Okay, so we have our mauve thread, which is going to set up our loom. Our purple thread is going to weave our weaver's knot with both of our tails attached to our loading loop. So holding the weaver's knot in the pinch. Now normally from here you would take your loom thread around these pegs and start setting up your loom. But I'm going to take my tails up through the middle and secure them with a figure 8. Now you don't have to use the loading loop here, but I like to do that because it means I don't have to have my tails super long, and it also gives me a little bit of added security here with my figure 8. If these were just tails and they were looped around this figure 8, you run the risk of them coming off very easily. Now we come back to our loom thread and we're going to load our loom as normal, taking the mauve thread around the pegs. So as I mentioned earlier, the other tutorial explains how to set up in detail. This is just a quick one for tails today, so I'm not going to go into the setup detail. Okay, the last step of setting up is something called hitching the loom, and this holds all our loom threads together. So I'm going to try and get this hitch to sit on top of my weaver's knot. If I can't get it on top of, I'd like to get it as close to the weaver's knot as I can. It's a bit hard to film and show you what I'm doing at the same time. So as you can see, I kind of missed the weaver's not there. Let's see if we can back it up. That one's better. Okay, so as we start to weave, we have this thread on our right, which is attached to our loom, and these two threads are our tails. We're going to treat them as if they were one. I'm roughly halfway through weaving, so I'm going to cut my purple tail. Be very careful that you get the right one. You might need something to help you separate them. I'm cutting it up here instead of down here, so that my thumb got stuck in the scissors, so that I have a tail to work with. I'm going to fold that tail back on the cluny and continue my weaving. I am now roughly 3/4 of the way with the cluny. It's time to throw out that last tail. So make sure you're cutting the tail, not this one that is your loom thread. And again, fold that tail back over the cluny and finish out your weave. Now with your last tail, you probably could leave it in until the end, but I prefer to get rid of it. I think it gives a cleaner finish. If you leave it in until you close the cluny, you risk cutting the cluny when you try to trim the tail, or you might not cut it close enough, which leaves you with furry ends. So I've made the last few wraps. It's time to close that up and take my loading loop off as well. And then before this last loop gets too far closed, I'm going to pop a stitch marker on the end, and that's because I need a join. I need somewhere to join back to later on. When that's done, you can cut your tails off. And that's it. We have purple cluny with our mauve thread ready to continue.